All right, welcome to the conversation at the center today. We have some great participants, and we are grateful that people are here. I have a reminder on my calendar to post the reminder for this meeting a week before the actual meeting. And that reminder, for some reason, did not go off. And so I think it was like a day late, we got this invitation out. But so then because of that, we have three questions that we're going to go over really quick. First off is, they said, I'd like to know the status of the vacant positions. That is an excellent question. Bernice was kind enough to give us a rundown for these. So here are the vacant positions. Volunteer coordinator position. The candidate has been selected. We're waiting on drug testing and onboarding through the city. So they have to go to the city and attend some of their training meetings for that. So, but a candidate has been selected. So we're waiting on the city for that. Adoption rescue coordinator. Candidate has been selected. We're waiting on the drug test results and onboarding through the city. The grant writer, we only had 2 people apply for the grant writing position, and neither of those, one failed to show up for the tour of the center, which is required. So that kicked them out. And then the last individual, we were looking for something else, a little more different experience. So we are actually reposting that, and the reposting is going to go today. So as soon as that reposting happens, we'll put it on our Facebook page and everybody can share it out for people to see. We're also going to do a lot broader on that one as well. And Bernice, if you're listening to me, I'd like to get that on the administrative welfare for animal something. It used to be called Society of Animal Welfare Administrators, but we like to get on that site. We'll get it on the National Animal Care and Control Association site. And then I think it's usually on Indeed, things like that. So we want to get that one out there a lot more. Our veterinarian position, keep in mind, we have a medical director and she's doing incredible work and she does a lot of our veterinarian work, but we got approved in our last budget to do just a veterinarian. All they're going to be doing is doing surgeries. And that one, we've had a big issue with human resources, getting that job created and getting a position control number, et cetera. For this job, it's been going on about 7.5, 8 months now. One big issue is the city has never hired a veterinarian before. So it all had to go through a counselor. And the counselor not a counselor. I think it was a counselor. Bernice, do you remember what that was that had to go through?
The consultant?
Consultant, that's the word I'm looking for. So I had to go through a consultant to figure out how much we were going to pay, which would put it into the correct number of, each job has a job number. It is just a lot of tape that has to be cut to get this done. So finally, a lot of that's been done. We're waiting for the actual position control number so we can enter a requisition, which can be approved so we can post it. So we're in the final ones of that. The good news on that is we have some individuals in mind that state that they are interested, because we, open mouth or word of mouth, we've been talking to people. Some of them are not local. So we have that to look forward to. Animal caregivers, we have 2 full-time positions and 3 part-time positions vacant. We are closing the last recruitment because we exhausted that list, and then we are reposting the position. So that should be happening shortly. Office assistants, we have 3 full-time and 2 part-time positions vacant. And HR, again, we're closing that recruitment list because that one was exhausted, and we are waiting to repost. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but we've had a lot of people join us. I think Michelle has 4 individuals hired just within the last couple of weeks. We've had animal caregivers hired within the last couple of weeks. So, and like I said, the volunteer and adoption coordinators, they are both hired. We're just waiting for the city to get caught up and get that processed. I should back up and say that the job's been offered. We can't hire them until we get the results of the drug test done. We're back. So that's the status. Next question. I'd also like to gain a better understanding of the status pending in the city's TNR resolution. So the Animal Task Force met several months ago. I believe it was in January. And the consensus was that instead of trying to pass the entire ordinance right now and have the big issue, which the big elephant in the room is the TNR program that's in the ordinance, because there's some city councilors that really liked it, some that were on the fence, and some absolutely hated it and didn't want anything to do with it. So there was some talk of, why don't we try to get a resolution passed, and that resolution will kind of streamline the ordinance once we get there, because then we can battle it out of the big issue on the table, which is the TNR and the ordinance. So we had a work session with City Council. As you know, Gino talked about the ramifications of the city. I talked about the center, and then Huckabee. Oh, what was her name? Miss Huckabee. She spoke to and did a fabulous job of the citizen part of it, and talked about the pros and the cons and how we're all having to meet halfway. But the reception of the city council was positive overall. There was still 2 councilors that didn't say anything at all, because they absolutely hate TNR, is what I've gotten back from other individuals that know them, and also from them. So, but the rest of were very positive. That actual resolution has yet to go before the council. I did not see it. I checked on the April 5th council meeting, and it is not there. As far as I know, it is still with legal. I got an email from Robert Caballo. He is one of the city attorneys. He asked my opinion on it. I gave him some feedback. That was last week. So still there, I guess, in the churning wheels. So hopefully we'll be able to get that soon. Now, what is that going to be? So that's the next question is it says here, as you remember, I emailed you about the city and this. With the revised resolution, the city used the term community cats instead of feral cats, which I thought was intention to create a workaround the current ordinance language and allow TNR to begin if the resolution passes. However, at the last ASCMV board meeting, you stated you could not begin TNR immediately. I hope I got that correct. Is that based on basically not being staffed to start TNR, or is there some other reason I'm not understanding? The reason I said that is I don't feel as a resolution changes an ordinance. A resolution basically says, this is our intent to do this, and we want to work towards it. So the resolution is not going to allow us to automatically start trap and neuter return program. It will give us enough that we can start making the changes, right? We can start changing the policies and have them ready to be put into place as soon as the ordinance passes. It will allow us to gather education material. It will allow us to get backing from best friends. I mean, all these things are a lot easier done when we have that resolution. We can say, hey, a resolution's passed. And also purchasing of items, we can get that done as well. Also, I hope that the city officers, animal control officers, and their supervisors will take the opportunity once the resolution passes, that they will get caught up with things, that they can start getting that education material together as well to hand out. I don't know if you guys know this, but the county officers do a pretty decent job of getting the education material out to individuals who are actively trapping. They've teamed up with Best Friends, and they have some of their great input and information. in flyers in Spanish and English they give out to individuals that are trapping. So I just hope that the city takes that and runs with it during this time of transition from the resolution. So that's the answer there. And then the last question was, do you know if the resolution will be heard the first meeting in April? Like I said, it was not on the April 5th agenda that went out this week. So we hope in the next 2 or so that it will be on there. And then after that, then the ordinance will begin. And we'll be able to fight that fight, which I feel pretty confident about. If there's individuals, I mean, if we already passed the TNR part, then hopefully, like you said, it will smooth, kind of grease the wheels for the ordinance to go through. There are some things in the ordinance that some of the others or some of the counselors had questions about, like the barking dog ordinance. I don't know if anybody was not in favor of those changes. The ducks, everybody's in favor, of the drakes. They understood that one. I'm just trying to think of the big ones that were there. I think that was probably it. The community cat one is by far, though, the biggest change in that. So one piece of news I wasn't too excited about with the ordinance was Best Friends. We had some great backing from Best Friends. I mean, they were doing everything, and then they asked for a copy of the ordinance, so I sent it to them, and they pulled their backing of it, only because it does not go the distance, pretty much. I mean, they like the effort that we were doing, but it doesn't 100% go with what they stand. Like releasing cats within 150 feet of a daycare or where birds were, or of an arroyo. And that had to have been it was a give and take through the whole process. Well, Best Friends didn't like that. They said that's ridiculous, and I agreed with them. I said, yeah, it is. But in order for you to get us past this, I had to give on something. And that was one thing that I saw that was reasonable to give on, because the cat's just, it's going to go where it wants to go. So, but little things like that they didn't respond or didn't like well, that they did pull their 100% backing. However, they still committed $1,000 to be able to get set up for things like that. And we're not going to have to change a lot here at the Animal Service Center for that, because we're already doing it with county. We may need to purchase some feral boxes or some things like that, but we're not too worried about it. So those are the questions I had. Are there any questions from our attendees today or staff? Kathy, go ahead.
So you're correct that a resolution can't change an ordinance. The ordinance talks about a cat determined to be feral. That's why I thought when they changed the language in the resolution to community cat, which is not in the ordinance, it kind of does a carve out that would allow you, if you were in a position to, begin to do TNR.
And we changed that in the resolution, not on the basis of a carve out or a go around. It was because it's not a TNR program, it's a community cat program that we're suggesting in the new ordinance, because not all cats are going to be feral that are in the community cat program. So I can talk to Robert about that, but the intent wasn't, maybe if the intent was to do it with the ordinance, we could do a program. Maybe then we could do it, but that wasn't the intent of it.
Okay.
Let's see, some updates on the new center. We're excited, we're moving forward on it. If anybody watched the board meeting, we had Public Works come and talk to us about the new center, because it's called value engineering. When we're under budget or when we're over budget, we have to cut things out of the center to bring it more in line with what the contractor was doing. So out of all the attendees in the negotiations with the contractor, and the contractor included, it was the biggest percentage split that any of them had ever seen in all of their career from the huge inflation and cost of COVID. I don't know what, I can't tell you what the percentage was, but I know that it was astronomical. In order to do this, the Animal Service Center is going to be having, I went to the board, as if you watched it, you know that $705,000 has to be out of our budget. That is a huge chunk of money for a budget that is just over $3 million. So we are going to have to scrimp and save for the next 2 years in order to find that money. And what that money is going for is all the furniture, fixtures, equipment, and also the kennels, the actual kennels the dogs are in, not the building around it, but the actual kennels. It may, if we have to, it may come down that we don't furnish a kennel. We call them dog pods. Maybe we don't finish one right now. We can do that the next fiscal year. There's plenty of ways to work around it. Right now, though, we think we have a pretty solid plan to get everything funded. To give you an idea, he said in the meeting that between the time of a contractor accepting, like doing a bid, and the time the contract is signed, on average, they see a 3% increase in goods. We had 24% in just 3 months, 24% increase of supplies. And that is astronomical. Steel itself, I believe he said, went up 300% since the time we started the design of the center until now. One thing the city has done to keep things from going up is, and which they hardly ever do, is they wrote a letter of intent to the contractor. So the contractor was able to supply to their subcontractors to set in that price. Because it just kept going up. Every day the prices were going up. The only big change that we had to the center is, I mean, huge change is we went from a four-car Sally Port to a 2-car Sally Port. So they just chopped off one end and brought it in. Some other changes were that the back end of house is what we called it, where like the euthanasia and the stray cat kennels, laundry room, all that area, it was going to be cinder blocks or CMU, but we decided to go with a value engineer sheetrock and then layer it with, if you've been in our kennels, you've seen that white paneling. I believe it's called RPF, but it's a waterproof paneling. So that will go on, and then it'll have a rubber base mold around the bottom. So, I mean, that was one value engineering we did. We also dropped the height of the center. That was another value engineering that we did. And that will also help with heating and air. So that cut the cost of the type of air conditioner that we had to have. I mean, everything was thought of and considered. The good news is the dog pods, we didn't lose any of the dog pods. We have 4 of them, and they're still made out of concrete and the cinder blocks. I was insistent upon that. That was not something that they could chop, because that is an environment that's always going to be wet, right? Always there. But we're hopefully we're going to be going to council in April. By the end of April, maybe we'll have groundbreaking, maybe the beginning of May. So we're excited for that. There is so much dirt work that needs to be done before we even see one cement truck. The whole hill that's out on the corner, for one, the sewer and the electrical lines, they all need to be relocated, for one. And then 2, that whole hill needs to go away. It needs to be scraped off and that down into the arroyo. So it's gonna be a lot of work. Still, completion date is June of 2022. So we'll see on that. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything that you'd like updates about? Yes, Monica.
Will there be a fence around the center, the new center?
Yes, there will. Yep. Yeah, good question. Also sharing space with the center is going to be one of the dog parks. There's one of 2 dog parks that are going in. So we're sharing an entrance off Rinconada with the new dog park. So that'll be fun to see people visiting. And hopefully people, visiting with their animals will come in and see what we have. Or they'll tell their friends, if they have it there. It's fairly common to have a dog park next to or near animal centers these days. I see a lot of them when you go around visiting or when I talk to other directors. Also that got cut is Monica is our big nice sign that we had. The electric sign. Yeah, I got value engineered out. Luckily, these are all things that we can add when budget comes available. But yeah, we're kind of bummed about that too. We got our nice big transportainer in. You've seen that. We submitted a request on Facebook for paintings, individuals that would like to paint murals on there, and we had 2 submissions. So I'm going to be emailing those out to our coworkers today, and they can select which ones that they'd like to have. And the center is going to supply the paint for those, so it will give some young artist or experienced artist, whoever the centers choose, an opportunity to paint and just make it a lot better than the beautiful tan desert drab that it currently is. Something to look at. Our brand new washer and dryer, industrial washer and dryer, we got word should be here on Monday. We've done some fixing and changing in the laundry room. We had some shelving and some cabinetry there that the staff wasn't using, and the staff actually wanted it out. So we took it out, and we're glad we did because we found some pretty nasty mold in some of the lower parts of it. So we threw them away, cleaned up the area, and now we have wire shelving that's on wheels that we can just move out and scrub the area down if needed to. The floor was really bad in there. So we took up all of the tile that was in there. It was a vinyl tile stuff. So we scraped it up. So it's a lot better not hiding or have a place for disease and dirt and grime to be in. So. Okay, anything else? I think I've talked my ears off. I don't know of anything else that we can discuss. So if there's nothing else, we can disperse, or if you have questions, Michelle, I know you're dying to ask a question. No? All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you attending this, the April conversation at the center. We look forward to the first Friday of every month to be able to give you this information and update. Don't be afraid to send comments or questions in at any time, because I usually print them and I put them in my folder for a conversation at the center. So I always have them. I also flag them in my email as well, so I can look them up that way. And the budget is going before our next year's budget is going before the ASCMV board on Thursday in a special work session that we're having. So they'll review it, they'll give recommendations, and then it will be presented in its entirety in the April meeting. It's on a Thursday, I believe it's the 22nd. And then if it's approved by means of resolution, then they take it to their city and county commissions and city board, and hopefully it gets approved there. So we're not looking for anything grand. Our operating budget has done very well in COVID times. So like I said, we're not asking for much extra. Some positions, like some highlights are, we've asked for a foster coordinator position to be funded. We really need that position to be able to up our game on the fosters, and just some other items here and there, nothing huge. So, but with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.